Likutei Sichos, Chelik Yud, that's volume 10, second Sicha for Parshas Bereishis. This Sicha is going to explain the significance and the purpose of the oir, the light that was created on the first day of the 6 days of creation. And the Rebbe will conclude with a very fantastic Hayra'ah, a directive for us in our day-to-day life. On the pasuk Vayomer Elikim Yehi Oir, which is the first of all the utterances that are explicitly stated in the 6 days of creation, it comes out that the very first thing Hashem created is light. But the question is, if you think about it, l'cha'ida, what is the purpose of light? Light is in order to make things visible. In other words, light is there in order to serve other things. Light in itself doesn't really do anything. Light in itself doesn't really have a purpose. The purpose of light is that it makes things visible for others and functionable. If that's the case, then the question is, why was the light created the very first thing? Why was it created on the first day of creation? If the only purpose of it would only come to use several days later when living things were created, and even later when the human being was created, and even if one should make the argument that light does serve a purpose for plants, for things to grow, which they do, as it comes out from Parshas V'zeis HaBrocha, Rashi explains that the sun, the moon, the light actually affects many different plants. But even so, it still doesn't explain why light was created the very first thing at the very first day. Why? Because even plants were not created until the third day of creation. So if it was for that purpose, to serve others, then Hashem should have created it right before he created plants, or right before he created livestock. Why is it that Hashem created it on the very first day of creation? Another thing, the Chazal tell us about this light, this oir that Hashem created on the very first day. Chazal tell us that the Eibishter was gonzei letzadikim la'asid lavei. Hashem hid it away. He stored it away for the tzadikim for the time to come, meaning in the future. And this too raises the question, why would he create the light and then immediately hide it away? If the light was there for a purpose, then he should have let it remain. It should have stayed there. It should have served a purpose. Hashem, then, why would he go and just hide it away? Although the Chazal give reasons why Hashem hid the light, but that still doesn't answer the question. Because it's obvious that Hashem himself knew, he anticipated the reasons for why he would be hiding the light. And if that's the case, why create it in the first place? And the very first day, and the very first thing, and then hide it away. Another very important question. The Zohar tells us that oir is begimatria roz. If you take the word oir, you have 207. Aleph is 1, Vav is 6, and Reish is 200, 207. The word roz, which means secret, something that is concealed, is also Reish Zayin, 200 plus 7 is 207. So the question is, we know, and especially as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, that whenever there's a gematria, it's not just a random, pull out of the hat, a number here and a number there. Rather, there's an intricate connection between the two things. There's a pnimiyisdika connection between the two things. It's just that it gets expressed through a numerical value. It gets expressed through a secretive, so to speak, mode. But in fact, in their inner essence, there's a connection between the two. But the question is, what is the connection here? Light, by definition, makes things visible. Raz, by definition, it makes things the exact opposite, that you shouldn't see it. You hide it away. It's a secret. A secret, by definition, means that it's not visible, it's not obvious, it's not known. So in order to understand this, we need to first take a moment to examine, to understand, rather appreciate, what happens when a person sets out to do something, to make something. And the Medrash tells us that the ordinary custom in the world is that, for example, when a king wants to build a palace, so what does he do? First, you draw plans, you draw up the blueprints. And based on that is how you build, how you develop it until you reach the final stage and the purpose of what you set out to do. And that, say the Chazal, is what Hashem did. He, so to speak, made a plan, and he, based on that plan, is how he developed, how he created the world step by step and brought it in to fruition to be the world that we know. And in truth, says the Rebbe, that when you bring a mashal, especially a mashal on the Eibishter, how he did things, how he does things, it's obvious that it's not that Hashem is following the mashal, the parable, rather the opposite, that the truth lies in what happens lamaila, in what happens above, and how Hashem does things. It's just that we, human beings, in order for us to appreciate it, in order for us to have some perspective, to have some insight as to what Hashem does, we have a mashal from our day-to-day lives. So if that's the case, it's obvious that when a person makes, just like when a person makes something, when a person sets out to do a project, what is the very first thing that happens? What is the very first thing that goes through the person's mind? It's obvious that the person has a vision. The person has an idea. They have a purpose. Follow the word purpose. And based on that purpose, the whole project begins to evolve. First in their mind, then in the planning stage, they put it down on paper, and then they start the implementation phase. And then when it's finalized, everybody can appreciate in a very obvious and revealed manner what is the purpose that went through the person's mind. What is it that the person had in mind, their objective that they set out to make this project? So now this can help us understand. This can help us answer the question. The world, as it was created by Hashem, has a purpose. And the very first thing that Hashem did is that he laid out the objective for this world, the objective for the purpose of why he is going through these stages of creating an entire world. This universe was created for one purpose, and that purpose is Yehi Or. There should be light. That we, the human being that resides in this world, has the purpose, has the obligation, the privilege of bringing light into the world, bringing light into each and everything. Now, it's a very interesting thing. In Gemara Sicha, on the pasuk that says, Vayara likim es ha'or ki tov, that Hashem saw the light, that it was good, says the Gemara that oir is tov. Meaning, whenever it says in the pasuk tov, whenever it says in the rest of the 6 days of creation, in reference to Hashem's accomplishment, so to speak, that it says Vayara likim ki tov, what it really means subliminally is that there is light in everything. That in everything that Hashem created, there was light. The question is, if the light was only as a means of a prerequisite, this was the first thought, as we said, this was the purpose that Hashem laid down for everything, so why is it being referenced to in each and every day of creation? And what does it mean that Hashem is hiding it? He's not saying light, but he's saying in every day of creation, he's saying ki toiv, that there is good. Not explicitly saying light, but subliminally referring to that light. So in order to understand this, we'll take another look at how a person does a project. How does a person set out to do a project? First thing is, like we mentioned, you lay out the purpose of the endeavor. meaning you lay out the purpose in your mind at least, in a revealed manner. That means you have that vision, you have that idea that is very clear. That is stage one. Stage two, in each and every step of the implementation of that plan, there's also some hint, at least, to the accomplishment of that purpose. In other words, at each and every stage, the person who is doing this project actually sees to it and understands how this step is leading him closer and closer towards the fulfillment of his vision, of his purpose of the whole thing. And likewise is over here too. Since the purpose of the creation of the world is that we should bring light into everything, that means Hashem made the world. And the world, by definition, according to Chassidus, the word olam derives from the root word ha'elem, which means concealment. Yes, Hashem created the world in a way that everything seems to conceal ungodliness, but we know that deep down there is godliness. So first thing he did is he created light. He set down the objective for what this world is here for. Yehi or, that there should be light, that we should bring light into everything. And then, as he was implementing, so to speak, his vision in the form of creation, day by day, all the things that he created in the 6 days of creation, all the utterances that he said, he also weaved into it the oir, the light, not in a revealed manner, not in an explicit manner, and that's why it is referenced to in the pasuk with the words toiv, which, like the Gemara says, really essentially means light. This actually, to get a little Kabbalistic, can help understand, the Rebbe says, reconcile between the two opinions. There are two opinions as to what this quote-unquote light of the first day is. What level is it in the level of spheres? One school of thought is that it is Keser, which is the first beginning point of all emanation. Another opinion is that it is Chesed, which is the actual first of the actual active spheres, the attributes which Hashem used to functionally create the world. Says the Rebbe, we can reconcile it, that both are true. The actual essence of light is Keser. It's the beginning of anything. It's the highest thing, but it's so abstract. It's so to speak, removed from the reality as we know it. However, as Hashem was implementing the creation of the world, as he was, so to speak, going down to it, in actually creating every step of creation, there too you have the Ur, but in the form of Chesed, as it was actively creating the world in a very discreet, so to speak, manner, in a very hidden manner. But getting back to it, now we can have a better appreciation for the question that we asked, that the Zohar says that the Or is B'Gematria Roz. That Or, which typically means light and means revelation, is truly the Gematria of it is Roz, a secret, which we asked seems to be the exact opposite of the purpose of light. Says the Rebbe, that is now better understood. Because the purpose of everything was the Or. That in Hashem's plan, so to speak, in Hashem's thinking and purpose of why he created the world, it's because of Or. There should be light. And everything that we do should bring light into this world. However, Hashem made a concealment that the light should not be visible, but it is there. The potential for it is there. Otherwise, we would not be able to actually and actively bring it out in the creation. Thus, the light that exists, the light that permeates creation, that gives us the opportunity, gives us the ability to actively bring out the light into the world, is there in a form of Raz, in a form of secret. It's there, but it's not actually visible. It needs to be accessed by means of a person's efforts, by means of a person's doing Torah mitzvahs. And this is the point, that it was hidden away la'asid lavai. When is la'asid lavai? when the final purpose of creation, the culmination of the entire purpose, after all this quote-unquote 6,000 years of avodah, of service of Hashem, of bringing out the light in this darkness, in this world, in this concealment, bringing out the true purpose of it, when Mashiach comes, we will all then be on the level of tzaddikim. Then we will actually appreciate and see how that connects and how everything comes back to the original purpose, which is the light. In other words, then this project will have been finished, will have been completed, it's an entirety, and then we will appreciate the purpose of it. Just like in a regular plan, when you see a final product, you actually understand what the person, what the designer, what the originator of the idea actually had in mind. Where do we have this light? Where is this light, quote unquote, concealed? This light is concealed in the Torah. Because the whole purpose of Torah is to do what? The whole purpose of Torah is to give us the directives of how we have our Maisa, how to actively do what we're supposed to do, and through our actions reveal the light, bring out the light that is really hidden away there in the world, in each and everything in the world. Thus, when a person connects himself to Torah, a person actually has a connection to that special light that Hashem created on the first day. The directive for each and every one of us is that every person is charged with, every person is commissioned with this objective of bringing light into the world. Bringing light into the world. And just like Hashem, when he made the light, there was a two-step implementation of this light. First, when he created it in an active manner, in a revealed manner, but then later he concealed it. So too, when a person starts his quote-unquote creation, which is every morning when a person wakes up, he's like a Beria Chadosha. Halacha says that why do we wash Negavasar, or why do we say Moida Ani? Is because we're like a new being. We're like new entities. It's like a new creation. There's something new. So the very first thing that there has to be in a person's mind is Yehi Or. There's light. My day today is going to be a day that I am going to bring light to the world. In other words, the general purpose of what I am going to do today is there in a person's mind, and a person makes a firm decision that this is what I'm going to do. And step two is, throughout the day, whatever a person is engaged with, whether it's their mundane activities, obviously it's when the Torah mitzvahs, whatever it is a person's doing, it should always be threaded with, permeated with that light, that subliminal message that we said before, that secret, that Roz, that has to be there and should be accessible and visible in each and everything that we do throughout the entire day. In other words, throughout the day, when we're pushing away the darkness, and the Rebbe points out something very interesting. We're talking about the creation of light, the entity of light. But the truth is, according to Torah, according to what the Rebbe explains here, even darkness is an entity. In other words, darkness is not just merely the absence of light. And also, darkness is not just merely, so to speak, a necessary evil in order to give the person the opportunity for free choice. In order to, since there's darkness that contrasts the light, therefore, you can make the argument that a person now, when they choose light, it has some meaning, it's meaningful. Says the Rebbe, no. The darkness itself is a creation, and the purpose of the darkness, the creation of Choshech, and the Choshech which we encounter each and every day in our life, and many, many different things that we do throughout the day, that Choshech's purpose, that darkness' purpose, is that we convert it into light, that we bring out the light that's in there, that's hidden away in this darkness. However, the question can be asked. A person can say, whoa, where do I get the koyach to do this? How do I have the ability to actually implement this fantastic idea of bringing light into everything, of bringing out the light that's in each and everything, that's hidden away in everything? How do I have this koyach? For that, we have the verse that precedes this mention of the very first thing that was created. What is that verse? Bereishis bara Elikim. That what was the world created for? Bereishis, Beis Reishis. Two key things, two Reishises. Number one, Yisrael, the Yidden, and number two, the Torah. In other words, even when a person encounters what seems to be darkness and seems to feel like they have a challenge against bringing out that light, something that is stopping them, an obstacle that's holding them back, a person has to know that even before Hashem created the light and set out the purpose for everything, it already says, Bereishis, that this world is here for two things that have to come together, that do come together, the Yidden and Torah. And therefore, when we access Torah, we automatically and certainly access this light, which is the purpose of the entire creation, which the fruition of which, the culmination of all of this light, we will appreciate, we will enjoy when Mashiach comes.